For more on the tensions and the impact of Japan's economy and the region, we go straight to Charles Ortel in New York City. He's the managing director of Newport Value Partners. Welcome back, sir. It's good to see you, Charles. This tension, this is not new for our audience. This has been going on for a long time. Toyota had to deal with this, among many other issues. And I guess my question to you is that, is there a long-term impact to this political noise, or is it just good for TV?
No, I think this is a very vexing set of issues that really at its root starts by the U.S. changing its military posture around the world, creating instability in many potential flashpoints, this being one of them. But at the root of Japan's problems, they're really of their own making. Japan's economy is afflicted by the makeup of its population. Unlike China, I checked these numbers moments ago, that has about 0.4 people aged 55 and up for every person aged 25 to 54. Japan has more than one retired person for every active person. That's very difficult, especially because the retirees are out of the workforce, are used to be maintained at a very high lifestyle relative to the average Chinese worker and retiree. So that's a problem of their own making.
Okay.
The second...
I want to go back to the shrine and back to the controversy here before we get to the economy, but a lot of people are asking the question, is this going to have a long-term impact? And I know I asked this before, but maybe I'll ask it differently here, is they also have regional partners. It's not just China that's upset about it. The Koreans aren't too happy about it, and even some within Japan aren't too happy about it either. Is that correct?
I think that's absolutely correct, and I think it's a very dangerous move for a country like Japan to think that by stirring up nationalist fervor, you can distract from the real problems that Japan faces, which, as I said, are of their own making economically, population-wise, and also with too much debt. So I don't see at all why Japan would want to poke a stick in any other country's eye, let alone one that has a population 10 times the size of Japan.
Well, that brings up a good point. The question is why? Why would they stir up this pot? If it's bad for them, it's bad for its neighbors, and you're insinuating that's because to kind of not talk about the other problems, right?
I have some experience in Japan, and that can be the way that some politicians think through the calculus. Rather than doing what we try to do and what other countries try to do, being straightforward about what your problems are. Perhaps we dwell on our problems more than we should in public. Japan is simply not facing up to the reality, the hard reality. The system they've had economically in place since December 1989 has failed an entire generation of Japanese people and leaves them with very few good options.
There is still a tremendous amount of anger from World War II. We're watching some of the pictures now from various protests around the region. Is there anything Japan, in your mind, should do to resolve this? And I guess, can it be resolved?
Well, one of the things that does worry me that we haven't brought up yet is this issue of what actually happened at Fukushima. And, there are rumblings that the situation to this day is still not under control. And I think, Japan could do a lot for the world, for anybody who has any connection to the Pacific region, which, of course, China does and we do here in America. It's time for Japan to open up and tell the world exactly what's going on, whether it's actually been fixed, how it will actually be fixed, and then Japan needs to start thinking through the fact that they are, unlike other countries in the region, heavily dependent on imported energy. If they can't use nuclear fuel, that puts this economy, as I mentioned, with too much debt and too many senior people, in a very serious set of structural problems. That's what they should be focused on.
Charles, I don't need to remind you that you're on live television here, but you've made an accusation about the Fukushima plant, essentially accusing Japan as not telling the truth. What do you think the truth is?
Well, I have read reports that people working on that, people who retired from working at the plant allege that the whole truth has not yet come out about exactly how much radioactive water has been released into the Pacific Ocean. These are, publicly available reports.
Is it a safety risk to its neighbors? Not just to Japan, but also to its neighbors wherever the water flows or the ocean flows?
Absolutely, and the food fish chain and all that. So, I mean, that's something, let Japan, if I were giving advice to Japan, let's reduce the world tension a little bit here by backing off from some of these militaristic moves. And instead, let's reassure the world that Japan can handle nuclear energy responsibly.